Hello, listeners. If you've enjoyed these narrations, please click on that like and subscribe button. I've told you, I'm very happy being single, and no, I do not need to read any more books on how to pick up girls. I shot a glance over at the book that spontaneously flipped itself open on my desk. I know you mean well, Otis, but really I'm fine. The book closed its cover by itself, as if sadly set down by an invisible hand. All I want to do is finish my graveyard shift so that I can go home and sleep. But I'll welcome your book recommendations for succulent gardening. I've been getting into that lately. I offered, trying to sound friendly so that Otis wasn't so put down. Otis has been part of this library as long as I can remember. Not all ghosts are bad ghosts. Otis has saved my life more times than I can count, and I owe him 1 or 100. You see, the problem is that this library is trying to kill me. Well, not me specifically. It's tried to kill every one of the people who has worked for the graveyard shift at this library as far as they can remember. Why not just open the library during the daytime only, you say? That'd be a grand old idea, except it's a cursed library that requires being open all day and all night, lest a terrible curse befall this small town out in the middle of nowhere. In other words, this library being active is like a prison lock on demons that would really love to no longer be kept under guard of the glorified prisoner ward, me, so that they can possess and curse this entire town. Someone has to make sure that the occult books don't spontaneously go missing or to start casting spells by themselves. And yes, we've tried to burn them and run them through the paper shredders. All that got shredded was the paper shredder itself. Well, it's almost 1 a.m., I said to the empty air, just as several alarms on my desk started to ring, signaling that it was 5 minutes till 1 in the morning. I turned off the multiple alarms and set them again for tomorrow night. Never could be too careful. Okay, Otis, I'm gonna start the routine, I said as I took a blindfold out of the drawer and put it on myself, while my hand blindly reached for the dishcloth and bottle of surface cleaner that I always used. The routine was really just a list of rules that were to be followed every night. I had survived this long at this job because I was particularly uncreative and very good at following rules. A teacher's pet kind of person, if you will. By now, I had these memorized by heart, but to sum them up for you, there are a few rules that are active the whole night, and some rules that are only active at certain times. The light above the librarian receptionist desk should never be turned off. Please change the light bulb every 3 months, sooner if you wish to be more careful. If you feel a heavy sense of dread and a hand upon your shoulder, drink water or another beverage should help. Books will sometimes fall off the shelves and open themselves to pages of the occult. Leave them for too long, and it will allow the demons to copy and draw demonic circles and other spellworks into the ground. Please replace them on the shelf as soon as possible. Make sure all doors to the outside of the library are locked and deadbolted. At 1 a.m. to 2 a.m., you may see dark figures looking through the windows and glass panels at you. Though the figures are black, their eyes are wide-eyed and bloodshot. Avoid looking into their eyes by any means possible. Failure to do so will result in the figures being able to break through the glass. At 1 a.m., the figure will be watching you to see if that you are working. Please either mop or wipe surfaces down to keep up an appearance of working. Failure to do so will agitate the figures, possibly allowing them to break through the glass. At 2 a.m., you may stop cleaning. The figures should be gone from the windows. By now, though, a new figure should have appeared in the library in a chair in Section B. You are to pull up a chair and stay in the lobby for the next hour. If at any point the figure gets up or looks at you, you are to avoid speaking a single word to the figure until 3 a.m., at which the figure should disappear. Do not answer any of the figure's questions or commands. Do not talk to yourself. And do not talk to anyone else. You cannot wear a blindfold during this time, just in case the figure tries to steal some of the occult books. 3 a.m. is the most challenging part of the night. Illusions and hallucinations may begin to befall you during the witching hour. It is imperative that you show no sign of fear and uplifted mood if at all possible. Every reaction of shock and facial expression of fear or dread will allow the apparitions to gradually possess you. Every mistake will make it easier for the next mistake to happen. Failure to endure until 5 a.m. will result in irreversible loss of your soul. It was about time that the figure started to appear in the windows. I found that the best way not to look into their eyes was to not look at all. I double blindfolded myself too, one with a Velcro strap, and then I layered one of those nighttime sleeping masks on top. One time I tripped and the blindfold ripped off my head and, well, let's just say I never make that mistake again. The nice thing about the make sure you appear to be working rule is that you don't actually need to clean well, so long as you look busy and you ignore the creepy figures in the window. I've randomly felt for a bookshelf and then sprayed it and began to wipe it down, trying to feel where the moisture was. After a few minutes of cleaning, I would feel a hand on my shoulder pushing me, but I could never tell if it was the malicious hand on your shoulder or if it was just Otis trying to helpfully push me along so I didn't stay in one spot for too long. I heard some tapping on the glass. Ignoring it, I just continued to spray down a counter and haphazardly wiped it down the best that I could. Tap, 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 tap. The tapping was getting louder. Finally, it sounded like something was pounding a fist on the glass, and it sounded like the glass was going to give way and shatter. However, I just ignored it, though my natural instincts made me want to take off my blindfold and check that they weren't actually breaking through. I was a good boy, following the rules. I could barely hear it, but the soft whispers of some syllables began to drift from the doors. Just like the tapping, the whispers became louder, demanding to be let in until they became frightfully loud, human-like yells that pierced the dead quiet of the library. "Let me in, please. Please let me in. Let me in, let me in, let me in." There was a time that a foolish younger version of myself used to taunt the voices back, but I stopped that once a chair was thrown at me. Again, I couldn't tell if that was Otis stopping me from doing something stupid, or perhaps my taunts were giving the spirits power to affect the material world. A symphony of alarms rang from the receptionist's desk to tell me that it was now 2 a.m. This challenge was a little harder, because having to take off your blindfold and directly watch a scary, shadowy figure that could get up and could talk to you was very hard to stay calm with, let alone prevent yourself from talking or making a sound with your mouth. Running back to the receptionist's desk, I pulled out a gray roll of duct tape from the many that I had kept in the drawer and ripped off a large piece and secured it, putting it over my mouth. The best way not to talk is to be unable to talk, right? With this, I just needed to make sure that I didn't make any guttural sounds. Behind me, I heard some pages flip and a thud of a book. Otis was reading, presumably now that I couldn't talk to it. Over time, I came to appreciate the gentle sounds of the pages flipping, as it felt like a safe and calm ASMR. Looking ahead as if right at cue, a shadowy figure sat in a chair on section B.
"How do you do?"
It called from afar. I just ignored it. I pulled out a book series that I had continued to read, trying to give myself something to focus on, and put on a pair of noise-canceling headphones.
"I said, how do you do?"
Silence. I flipped to where my bookmarker dutifully sat to remind me where I was in the story.
"I think you're being extremely rude. All you have to do is say a simple hello."
The figure's voice was beginning to get more agitated in the tone, and I was starting to be able to hear him through my headphones. It was going to be a long hour.
"Look up. Look at me, you fuck."
By now I realized I'd been rereading the same sentence over and over. I tried so hard to concentrate on the next sentence and stared at the words, drinking everything in. If this went normally as the other nights, the figure would yell and scream and beg until I got bored. A shadowy face with bright white, bloodshot eyes suddenly appeared between my face and the book, their impossibly widened eyes and dilated pupils staring straight into my eyes. It took everything in me to refrain from making a throat sound in alarm, but my chair fell over backwards with a heavy thud, and I involuntarily grunted with the painful impact. Immediately, dread washed over me as soon as I had realized what I had done. And then something new happened. The figure suddenly grew a mouth with a disturbingly long length that went ear to ear, and smile that was intensely that it struck fear into my heart. I froze like a deer in headlights. Seeing my shocked expression, the figure grew in power and ripped my headphones clean off of my head. Next, it tried to pull the tape off of my mouth, but its grip was not yet corporeal enough to pull off the duct tape, so I slapped my hand over my mouth just in time and ran to the receptionist desk. Ignoring the figure, I tore off more duct tape to create a huge X on my face that couldn't be ripped off so easily. During this, the figure tried to push me to prevent me from protecting myself and to shake me up even more. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a unicorn book nailed me in the back and I nearly made a coughing noise from it. Looking down, I saw the cover that had a ridiculous pink unicorn and an unnecessarily sparkles running all over the corners. Another book launched at me, this time a Captain Underpants book, and then another book of puns and corny jokes, and another on dog poo. I realized it was Otis, trying to distract me from my fear by throwing books with funny and ridiculous covers. Thank God for Otis. It was working. I eventually began to smile with my eyes at the ridiculousness of the various covers that had been chucked at me. Otis, likely being a poltergeist, was incapable of throwing things gently. Soon, 2 a.m. was over and gave way to its superior 3 a.m. But that's when the real problem started. Hallucinations and illusions are no problem when they can't touch or hurt you. But having broken Rule 7 of not making any verbal sounds during 2 a.m., I was about to learn what happens when a nightmare can hurt you.